Council to order first. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Councilmember Brightigam.
Here.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Here.
Councilmember Dovin.
Present.
Councilmember Klopfenstein.
Here.
Councilmember Nguyen Peñalosa.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Tran.
Here.
And Mayor Jones.
Here. May I ask, is it you? Yeah. Okay, may I ask Assistant City Manager Ursula Luna Reynosa to do the invocation, and then followed by Councilmember O'Neill to lead us in the pledge.
You. Please stand and prepare yourself according to your faith. I was feeling sorry for myself because I had no shoes until I looked at the man next to me and realized he had no feet. Loving Lord, as we approach Thanksgiving, no matter our circumstances, give us perspective to not lament what we don't have, rather to rejoice and be thankful for what we do have. Let gratitude and love inspire us to be charitable with those in need, including those who are poor in health or spirit, those who hunger and thirst, those who are meek, and those that mourn. Let us remember to be grateful for what we have and be inspired to console the less fortunate. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in pledging our allegiance to our great flag, the greatest symbol of freedom in the world. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Alrighty, with that, we will recess over to the Housing Authority, and I'll hand it over to Chair Kim Nguyen Peñalosa.
Clerk, will you call roll, please?
Commissioner Beckles is absent. Commissioner Dovin.
Present.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Klopfenstein.
Here.
Commissioner Tan Nguyen.
Here.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Here.
Commissioner Tran.
Here.
Vice Chair Brightigam.
Here.
And Chair Nguyen Peñalosa.
Here. Is there anyone wishing to speak for Housing Authority? Seeing none, I will move on. We have 2 items under consent.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Dovin.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Klopfenstein.
Yes.
Commissioner Nguyen. Tan Nguyen. Commissioner O'Neill.
Yes.
Commissioner Tran.
Yes.
Vice Chair Brightigam.
Yes.
And Chair Nguyen Peñalosa.
Yes.
Motion received, 8 yes votes.
Any matters from commissioners? Seeing none, I'll adjourn the meeting and send it back to City Council.
Alrighty, we will reconvene City Council, and that takes us on to presentations. And we do have a community spotlight tonight in recognition of employees celebrating 25 plus years of service with the City of Garden Grove.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. It is my pleasure to do the community spotlight and celebrating these employees who have achieved these great milestones. So this evening, the City of Garden Grove pays tribute to a distinguished group of individuals celebrating milestones with the City of Garden Grove, having dutifully served the community for 25, 30, 35, and even 40 years. We'll begin by mentioning honorees unable to be here tonight. 25-year employees, Diane Belair, Michael Bose, Karen Bram, Veronica Frutos, Jacob Grant, Tina Nguyen, and Noel Prophet. 30-year employees, Gary Coulter, Jennifer Dix, Stephen Estelo, Brent Kaler, Rebecca Meeks, and Douglas Plurd. 35 employees, 35-year employees, Robert Bermudez, Les Richenschild, and John Zavala. And a 40-year employee, Rick Duval. At this time, I would like to call forward the honorees present and give brief introductions. Please stay up front after being called so a group photo can be taken. We'll start with our 25-year honorees. Pedro Ayano. Pedro began his career with the Garden Grove Police Department in 1998 as a recruit. After completing the academy and field training in 1999, he was assigned to the East Patrol Division. On Christmas Day, 2001, Pedro and his partner revived a 73-year-old man who was unresponsive, earning them life-saving medals. Pedro was later named Officer of the Year and received the Auto Theft Advisory Committee Award for most vehicle recoveries. In 2002, he was promoted to Master Officer 1 in investigations. In 2011, he was recognized as Investigator of the Year for his work on identity theft and fraud cases. Pedro was promoted to Corporal 1 in 2018 and Corporal 2 in 2019. Since January of 2021, he has been assigned to the Criminal Intelligence Unit, collaborating on terrorism and threat assessments for large events. Next, we have Phil Carter. Phil joined the city in 1998 as a mechanic with the Public Works Department. He was promoted to foreman and in 2006 became a supervisor in the Fleet Division. During this time, Phil formed the band Late Start with his colleagues and performed at several city events, including the annual Public Works Open House. In 2014, he was appointed Facilities Manager for Public Works, overseeing the city's buildings, fleet, parks, and custodial divisions. In addition to managing staff, Phil is currently focused on developing the new police department facility and the Woodbury Park projects. Next, I'd like to bring up Tammy Lee, who works in my department, so very pleased to recognize Tammy. Tammy started her career with the city in 1998 as an office assistant in the Housing Authority. She was promoted to housing specialist in 2000. Known for her versatility, Tammy eagerly volunteers for various special projects, including the Emergency Housing Voucher Program for the homeless, the Mainstream Program for the disabled, the Tenant-Based Rental Assistance Project for a senior apartment building, and a relocation project for an area designated for redevelopment. Bill Murray. Bill began his career with the city in 1998 as a senior civil engineer in the engineering division of the Public Works Department. In 2001, he was promoted to engineering services manager, overseeing the land development, traffic, and capital project sections. Bill was appointed city engineer in 2008 and later became Public Works Director in 2011. He is a licensed civil engineer, holds a land survey and training certificate, and is an active member of the American Society of Civil Engineers, the City Engineers Association of Orange County, and the North Orange County Public Works Association. Now we have our 30-year honoree, and this is also a member of my department, so Greg Blodgett. Greg started his career with the city in 1993 as an economic development analyst. Over the years, he has held roles including economic specialist, program manager, and is now the deputy director of the Economic Development and Housing Department. With extensive experience in economic development, community revitalization, and redevelopment, Greg has contributed to over $1 billion in new development projects, including the $300 million Great Wolf Lodge of Southern California. He recently updated the city's economic development strategic plan and led the accreditation process for the International Economic Development Council, making Garden Grove the only city in California with an accredited economic development program. Greg continues to drive key hotel developments and foster a business-friendly environment to strengthen the city's economic base. At this time, the mayor and city council would like to present each of these distinguished individuals with a memento in appreciation of their many wonderful years of dedicated service to the city of Garden Grove. The city is proud of their accomplishments and looks forward to many more years of success in their careers.
You really want me to talk?
We know how you lasted so long. You guys are so humble. You don't want to even come up when it.
The city spared no expense. Nice piece of glass. Plastic.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Alrighty, with that, we will move on to oral communications. Got several cards, starting with Leland Sisk.
Mr. Mayor, council members, and this awesome city staff, my name is Leland Sisk. This Thursday is Thanksgiving, so tonight I wish to thank 3 people. First, I wish to thank Mr. Raphael Cobian, traffic engineer for the city of Anaheim. He is the person who educated me with regard to Assembly Bill 43, thus allowing me to inform you, the city council. Tonight you have the opportunity to vote for sensible speed limits within the city of Garden Grove as contained in item 11. Right? Second, I humbly thank Councilmember Dovin, who supported me verbally the evening I addressed the city council with regard to the situation. He was the only person to do so. Thank you, Councilmember Dovin. The third person I want to thank is me for continuing to participate in this democracy and to help make a difference. Democracy is not a spectator sport, and I encourage my fellow citizens to join me here and participate. We don't have to agree 100% of the time, but we do owe it to each other to try. Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving.
Better leave your wife.
Hey,
She don't like you anyway.
Nicholas Dibbs.
Mayor Jones, members of the council, it's a lot, these meetings are a lot, I should say, I enjoy them more than school board meetings. But anyway, I want to, piggybacking on our Honorable John O'Neill, who led us in the flag salute of the greatest symbol of freedom. Okay, freedom, what is freedom? And that Benjamin Franklin, when he left the Constitutional Convention after the Constitution was adopted, somebody asked him, Dr. Franklin, what do we have, a monarchy or a republic? He replied, a republic, if you can keep it. And if we can keep it, that's the key word, keep it, if we can keep it. And I need to report to the council, to the citizens of Garden Grove, that unfortunately I've uncovered evidence of misuse of public funds by the school district to influence the recent school board election, where school district funds were used to manipulate expenditures to favor the incumbent just before ballots went out and after ballots went out. I mention this because it's not about me. It's that if anybody runs for any public office, whether it's city council, school board, board of supervisor, state office, or federal office, if the public taxpayer dollars are misused in any way that might be perceived in doing or possibly influencing elections, that's wrong. And the elected officials of this country and the citizens have an obligation. As Leland says, it's not just a spectator sport, but we have to be engaged in the political process to ensure that ethics, fairness are upheld. Ethics and fairness have a place in our country and in the government at all levels. And if taxpayer funds are misused to possibly influence elections or to be perceived as influencing elections or actually do influence elections, particularly favoring one or more incumbents, that's wrong. And all of you who've have run for office before, you're in an elected position. If the city had spent taxpayer dollars to influence the incumbent or to try to keep the incumbent in, I think you wouldn't be happy with that. So I'm not happy about it either. And I need the citizens of Garden Grove to know this, that your tax dollars were misused to influence the recent school board election. And if you have any questions about it, please give me a call at 714-715-7600. We as a nation and as citizens have to hold our leaders accountable, and including making sure that this kind of stuff doesn't happen again. Thank you for listening. And I got 10 seconds left. So congratulations to Officer Pedro and the others who got awards showing their dedication to public service. And I come to these meetings to help bring positive change. Thank you.
Thank you. Last one I have is Jack Skellington. Is that right?
No, that's not Jack.
Hi, everybody. How's it going? Obviously, I'm not Jack Skellington. How's it going, everyone? Oh, Penny, are you okay? Whacked her right in the head. Okay, well, Honorable Mayor and City Council, tonight I stand here not just as a council member for the city over, but as a husband deeply proud of his wife, Kim, as she completes her final term on this council after serving 2 full terms and 8 incredible years on the Garden Grove City Council. She is concluding a remarkable chapter of leadership and service. I want to take this opportunity to publicly thank her, not just for the work she has done, but for the example she has set and the paths that she has paved. As the first Latina elected to the Garden Grove City Council, in a couple of days, this city will now have 2 Latinas on the Garden Grove City Council, something that probably wouldn't have been possible had you not made that decision to run 8 years ago. Kim, your time on this council has been marked by integrity, vision, and a relentless commitment to the people of Garden Grove. You faced challenges head on, fought for what you believe is right, and made decisions that will leave a lasting impact on this city. But beyond the policies and the progress, it's the way you've led that has inspired me the most. You've shown me that leadership is not about the titles or the recognition or the clout or the Facebook likes, but it's about listening and building consensus, something that I try to do in Santa Ana, but we're not as successful as Garden Grove here. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. And putting the needs of others above your own. Watching you lead has been one of the greatest privileges of my life, and it has made me a better leader in my own right. I've seen the long nights and the tough decisions and the sacrifices you've made to serve this community, but I've also seen the joy it has brought you to make a difference, to be a voice for those who might otherwise go unheard, to fight for fairness and to help shape a better future for this city and for your daughter, our daughter, and our future son. Garden Grove is better because of you, and I know the people of the city see that too. Your legacy will live on in the initiatives you champion and the relationships you've built and the countless lives you've touched paving the way. As you step away from this role and into the next chapter of your life, know that your work has made a lasting difference, and know that I, along with so many others, am incredibly proud of you, not just as a council member, but as the amazing person that you are. Congratulations on an extraordinary journey, and on behalf of myself, Ms. Penelope, and the city you've served so well, thank you. We are all better because of you. Wow. Bravo, Penny. For my mom, look at.
What a great baby.
Look at
and-
that. I beat my time. Wonderful.
Yeah. What a great baby, and I guess the husband's okay too.
Okay. Can we keep her?
You want to? Your mother-in-law.
All right, we actually have one more card. Maureen Blackman. Try and top that.
Yes. No, I can't do that. Racing tonight. I thought you guys would be a little slower. Anyway, good evening, Mayor Johnson, City Council. I wanted to take this opportunity to the outgoing City Council members, Kim Penaloza Wynn, John O'Neill, and Stephanie Kloppenstein, for 8 dedicated years of community service. To be honest, many a time it's a thankless job, but one that you have all given your all to. Thank you. Mayor Jones, you have gone above and beyond in service to our city. You and your family have given 20 years to Garden Grove. It's never been easy, and it comes with pluses and minuses. But through it all, you have raised the bar in Garden Grove. You've ushered in a new spirit in our city, and I speak for many people when I say thank you. I'll steal a line from Mark Rosen, and he said, "History will look back on Mayor Jones kindly." Thank you, Steve. It's been a wonderful ride you've taken us on, and I wish you and your family nothing but the best.
Thank you.
It's been a long day.
All right, that's all the cards I have. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on an item not listed on the agenda? Okay, we will close oral communications. That takes us on to written communications. We do have one item listed. Item number 2.
Yes, this evening under written communications, we have a consideration of a written request from the West Garden Grove Youth Baseball for the co-sponsorship of the 2025 Opening Day Parade on Saturday, February 8th, 2025. And Deputy Director Janet Pelayo is here to provide the report.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. The West Garden Grove Youth Baseball Organization holds the annual Opening Day Parade that includes baseball players and softball players in Garden Grove. Members of the Garden Grove Unified School District Board and school officials, the Orange County Fire Authority, and the Garden Grove City Council. The group is a 501c3 organization that is in good standing with the IRS. Additionally, more than 50% of the participants are Garden Grove residents. The organization is requesting co-sponsorship of the Opening Day Parade that is scheduled to take place on Saturday, February 8th, 2025. Additionally, the organization is requesting approval of all street closures required for the parade route between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. The parade route has been reviewed by the Garden Grove Police Department Traffic Division, who will provide staff support for the closure of city streets during the event. The parade will begin at 8 a.m. in front of Edgar Park and will travel eastbound on Lamson Avenue before ending at Bell Intermediate School. The organization will be responsible for notifying residents and businesses impacted by street closures along the parade route. Co-sponsorship for this event will require an in-kind contribution from the city in the form of staff time and equipment used for the event. It is estimated that the cost to provide police service, Public Works Street Division service, and equipment required to close city streets is approximately $7,370. Additionally, the rental and staff time for use of the showmobile stage is approximately $750. The total in-kind contribution is estimated to be $8,120. These expenses will be absorbed within the current police, public works, and community services departments' operating budgets. It is recommended that the City Council consider this co-sponsorship request on behalf of the West Garden Grove Youth Baseball Organization for co-sponsorship of the Opening Day Parade on Saturday, February 8th, 2025. And this concludes staff's report, and I'm available to answer any questions. We also have representatives from the organization here available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah. I'd like to elaborate. This I always look forward to this every year, and you know the way this thing kind of has grown organically, and kind of became a tradition. It's kind of cool. And how many years it's been going on, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I do know my wife, when she was a little girl, can remember doing this parade. It's really not just the baseball. I mean, they've got the girls softball out there. They got the scouts. They've got, I mean, it's the whole community. So it's really kind of a cool organic legacy event that just kind of happened. And I'm just glad that the community and the organization, you know, every year puts the effort into it to keep this tradition going. So with that, I'd like to make the motion.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Call to vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Great. Okay, we will now recess and go over to successor agency. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Member Brightingham.
Here.
Member Tran. Member Dovin.
Present.
Member Klopfenstein.
Here.
Member Nguyen Peñalosa.
Here.
Vice Chair O'Neill.
Here.
And Chair Jones.
Here. Okay, we already did oral communications, consent calendar. We just have receive and file the minutes from last time.
Move it.
Call to vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right, any matters from agency members? Seeing none, we will adjourn and go over to sanitary district. I'll hand it over to President John O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This time I'd like to call the sanitary district meeting to order. If the clerk could please call the roll.
Member Brightingham.
Here.
Member Dovin.
Present.
Member Klopfenstein.
Here.
Member Nguyen Peñalosa.
Here.
Member Jones.
Here.
Vice President Tran.
Here.
And President O'Neill.
Here. Thank you. We've already had oral communications simultaneously with council. First, we have consent calendar. Entertain a motion for the minutes and for we actually have a purchase order for a vehicle unless there's anything to pull.
Move to approve. I'll second.
Motion is second on the consent calendar. Please call for the vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Thank you for that. We do have one item for consideration tonight. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, this evening, item number 3 is award a contract to Lee Plus Row, Inc. for professional engineering design and construction management and inspection services for the sewer system rehabilitation plan Phase 2 sewer main lining and spot repair project number 1. And Director Bill Murray is here to provide the report.
Thank you, Ms. Vasquez, Mr. President, and members of the board. Tonight, the Sanitary District Board is being asked to award a contract to Lee and Rowe Incorporated for civil engineering design and to provide construction management and inspection service for Phase 2 of our sewer main lining and spot repair project. These projects are part of the district's 2022 system rehabilitation plan, Phase 2, which is in place to mitigate structural deficiencies in our sewer system. If allowed to remain, these deficiencies are likely to cause sewer overflows. These projects include repairs that will be made in an area bounded by Euclid, Harbor, Catella, and Chapman. Repairs that they will be designing include a UV cured fiberglass lining, and they will make direct repairs of sewer lines for issues. This work will be done for about 20,000 feet of sewer line. Staff sent out 3 requests for proposals and received 3 responses. Staff reviewed and rated these proposals and determined that Lee and Rowe is the most qualified firm and would provide the most qualified service to the city. The negotiated professional service agreement is for just over $400,000. Should council decide to award the contract this evening, staff can begin to utilize these services by late December of this year. This concludes staff's report. I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions on the staff report? Entertain a motion.
Second.
Second, let's call for the vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Thank you. Any matters for the sanitary district? No? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and adjourn and get it back to council. Thank you.
Alrighty, we will reconvene. City Council takes us on to consent calendar. It's recommended that items 3 through 8 be acted on simultaneously, unless anyone would like to pull an item.
Move to approve.
I would like to pull item number 6.
Right,
I'll move the balance.
Second.
call to vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Thank you. Item 6, John.
Thank you. I don't need to prolong it too much, but the reason I pulled this at the last meeting was to get more information, get everybody, we want to be fully transparent about raising water rates in the city of Garden Grove. We did pass a resolution, or ordinance, I should say, 2948, about passing through water rates, right? We buy water from the Metropolitan Water District, and we also buy water from the groundwater, from the Orange County Water. I was a little taken aback this year, out of the last 8 years or 10 years, that it was very substantial, the increase in the water rates. I'm not questioning anybody's work that they've done on this in the city or the Metropolitan Water District or the Water District. It's just that I think we're getting the cart in front of the horse a little bit, and I would like to see the future council maybe re-look at this ordinance 2948 and maybe attack these water rates individually as they come up, because the automatic pass-through, when it's a nickel per 100 cubic foot of water, it doesn't seem like a lot when you pass it through. But when it went up, 4 times in one time here at the end of this year, it's going to go all the way through next year. I think we could, instead of raising it 20 cents per tier 1 and tier 2 for the next year, that we should give the benefit of the doubt to the residents out there and say, hey, let's wait and see. Let's increase it 10 cents, which would be the highest we've ever done that I'm aware of in the last 8 years per tier, and then reapproach it in July and see where we're at. And if they come back and say, hey, we're not keeping up, we don't want to subsidize the water costs, we have to pay for the water. But I think to hit the residents with the full 20 cents, not even knowing what next year has in store, is a little tough for me. That's why I pulled it, because I'm going to vote no unless if it's at the current 20 cents per tier. I've got to vote it down personally myself. But I just wanted to bring it forward. I don't think I need a full staff report, but I just wanted the other members to chime in if they have anything. But I would make a motion that we approve it, but we knock the tier down to tier 1 and tier 2 to 10 cents, and then reapproach it in July of next year, and let the current council at that time reevaluate it. That's a motion, if anybody.
I'll second it.
Okay.
May I say something really quick?
Go ahead.
So yeah, I just want to support Council Member John O'Neill on this. First time when we have the raise, the couple months back, I felt the same concern, and I looked into it. I actually went to the Murdoch, the Water District meeting, and I actually asked the question. I said, and I was excited because at the time I was a new council member and with a lot of rain, and so why is this going up so high? And of course, I asked a question, I asked a couple questions, and they answer, the reason was the infrastructure and many other things. So when I came back, I did not want to vote yes on that one, but actually based on the homework or based on my investigation, there were no other choice. Like, we couldn't do anything about that. But I agree with Council Member John O'Neill. I didn't really like the fact that we raised a lot at that time, and now we raise again. But this time, at the last council meeting, we asked the staff look into that. We had a review yesterday. I asked the staff again, when we did the calculation, was there anything that we could do for our residents? And the answer was that there was nothing that we could do, because this is just pass through, and this is the cost that they charge us, so we really have no choice. So I just want to bring it up and just make the note to the resident. Yes, I'm guessing that probably the council member here, nobody like to vote to raise the cost for our water, but based on the fact that we have to do that, so that way we have to pay for what we receive. That's it.
I would just like to hear from staff if possible. I know that there was a presentation that we possibly could have had. I understand that costs are increasing. Obviously, there's pollution issues in the water that are probably causing some of these more rapid increases. So I would like a breakdown understanding before we vote on something without hearing from staff.
Council members, Mayor. So at last meeting that you have asked us to look into the calculation of the proposed 20 cents per unit adjustment to our water delivery charges, and also to explore any ways of minimize that impact to alleviate the burden on our water customers. So staff followed up with all of these requests and worked diligently with our rate consultant, FG Solutions. And today I have Mr. Art Griffiths with us. But before I hand the mic to him, I just want to highlight a few things. I know Councilmember Trent has explained the background of this pass-through. I just want to let everyone know in the audience know that we had this rate study done back in December 2023, and it was based on an industry standard model. And the rates were established based on the exact needs of the city, including 3 focuses. One is a PFAS treatment, that's required by the state. And the second one is that all of the new state regulations that's been imposing on us. And the third item is our infrastructure needs. Because I know years back that we had issues with infrastructure, and that caused a huge increase in rates, and it had a lot of inconveniences with water customers. We don't want that to happen again, so we carefully programmed all of those cost considerations into our 5-year rates. So by establishing the 5-year rate, we can only foresee what the city has control over: the cost of delivering the water, the cost of our infrastructure, as well as all the foreseeable regulation changes. The one part in the 5-year plan it's not included is the pass-through by our wholesale providers. So as well as OCWD, Orange County Water District, that's the replenishment assessment charge. So those things are established by those agencies on an annual basis through their budget process. What we can do is to incorporate what we anticipate is going to be in our 5-year rate with a smaller adjustments to see where it's safe to set the rates, not to impact our customers too much. However, when those agencies pass those resolutions in their budget, the actual amount that we have no control over, as a water provider, we would have to pay. If we don't pass on those water rates to our customers, then we would have to absorb those costs, meaning that we either delay our capital infrastructure investments, or we have to get money from somewhere else, not from the water utility, but somewhere else to fill that gap. So Art here today is really explaining to you why this year the increase is higher than the prior years. The prior years we had increases from 10 cents a nickel all the way up to 17 cents, but this year's 20 cents for both tiers. So I'm going to hand it over to Art to give you an explanation on that. Thank you.
So, good evening, Mayor, Council, and the public. So again, my name is Art Griffith, and I'm with FG Solutions. I am here to talk about the pass-through, as Patricia mentioned. And I'm here at your request from your last meeting. We're going to talk about a couple different items related to the pass-through, but I have a short presentation to cover 2 items. The deeper dive into how it was calculated, that's actually I can answer questions about that, and I have all of the information related to the calculations of how it was done, but also explaining why the pass-through adjustment is larger this year than in previous years. So just a little bit of background. What is a commodity delivery charge pass-through adjustment? That's a lot of syllables. It's an increase in the city's commodity delivery charge that recovers increases in wholesale water charges imposed by third parties that the city doesn't control and the city doesn't know in advance. And the ordinance language from 2023 is here. So I'm going to give you the summary and then show you the data. The summary is that the wholesale water charges established by other agencies has increased, and they're increasing at a faster rate now than they used to in the past. Recall the city gets its water from 2 different places. It gets some imported water from the State Water Project in Central California. By the time it gets to Garden Grove, the city is required to pay for that to the Metropolitan Water District. And Metropolitan Water District changes its rates every January. And so when the rate study was done, we went with the information we had, and that was what the charge was in 2023. And you can see the number here is $1,209 per acre foot. Well, by 2025, the period of time covered by this pass-through, the rate will be $1,395 per acre feet. So that's a 15% increase since the rate study. You also get your water from groundwater. And the Orange County Water District is the agency that manages the aquifer from which the city's groundwater is produced. They recover the bulk of their expenses through something called a replenishment assessment, and they charge that based on how much water is pumped. During the rate study, Orange County Water District updates their replenishment assessment every July. So during the rate study, the rates that you adopted in December, what was known was a replenishment assessment of $624 per acre foot. on July 1st, 2024, that went up to $688. So that went up 6 months ago. And the city's been paying that ever since. So that's a 10% increase. But what really tells a story is when you put a graph together. So here's a graph, and along the bottom are years, and along up and down are the costs. And there's a couple different lines on this graph. The solid line right here are the historical costs. And what you see is from about 2017 through about 2022, they were going up steadily, but at a slower pace than they have been going up since 2022. You can see that this line is steeper right here. There's another line right here, this black solid line. That is where $624 per acre foot is. And that is the amount that is included in your rates that you adopted. Everything above that black line would be recovered by the city through a pass-through adjustment. So the red triangle, okay, what is that? The height of the red triangle is the amount of the replenishment assessment increase that is included in this pass-through adjustment calculation. So the calculation is intended to recover the difference between 624 and what Orange County Water District's replenishment assessment is for start from July 2024 through July 2025. Future conversations will be about this dotted line. So we asked Orange County Water District what their projections are. These aren't adopted yet, but that is what they told city staff that they anticipate happening. So you can see that these increases are going to be ongoing. So that's a subject for a future conversation. So I have a similar graph for your imported water. So imported water you buy from Metropolitan Water District. You can see the years and the projections. And same way the cost is going up and down here. So, and you can see the same thing with the historical costs. Up until about 2022, they were increasing steadily, but now they're increasing faster. And so again, the little red triangle, the height of that little red triangle is what the increase that the proposed pass-through adjustment is intended to recover. And again, Metropolitan Water District, they've adopted their rates for 2025 and 2026. So we know what those are, but in the pass-through adjustment before you, the only thing that's included is the 2025 rate. So again, future conversations about what this dotted line is going to be and how those costs are recovered. That's a future conversation. So why is this happening? Well, we can't really speculate in terms of why Mets are increasing their rates and why Orange County Water District is increasing their replenishment assessment. But we do know this. So when we did the rate study and had all those presentations, we were talking about the PFAS treatment that is installed at the city's wells and that will be installed at the city's wells in the next 5 or so years. And that PFAS cost to install all this equipment is being paid for by Orange County Water District. So the city doesn't have to pay it up front. What Orange County does is what Orange County Water District does is they take all of those costs and then they recover it through this pass-through adjustment where they spread it around everybody in their service area. So part of the reason why these costs are going up is because of the capital costs associated with the PFAS construction. So that's the data. The summary again, the proposed pass-through adjustment is $20 or 20 cents per CCF. It's larger this year because the costs are higher that the city has no control of. Costs are increasing faster than they did in the past, and PFAS is one reason. So the revenue impacts. So this pass-through adjustment as proposed will collect about $1.6 million to directly offset increases in wholesale water charges. The city sells about 8 million CCF of water per year to its customers. At 20 cents per CCF, that's about 1.6 million. So not adopting it or delaying the adoption will reduce the water utilities revenues up to approximately 1.6 million in 1 year. So in asking the city, well, what would you do about this if you had to do without that 1.6 million? Keep in mind that these pass-through costs still must be paid regardless of whether or not the adjustment is adopted or not. Water main replacements and other CIP projects would be deferred. That was the response. So because they have to pay these wholesale water charges, they would defer some of their water main replacements or other capital projects. And that has a couple effects in the long run. It has the potential for more pipe breaks, potential for more emergency situations. It's costs more to do a repair under an emergency condition than it does if you plan it out. And that the longer you delay something, just inflationary reasons for no other reason, the replacement cost would be higher in the future. So that's the end of my presentation. I can certainly answer any follow-up questions you have, but I'll turn it back over to Patricia. Thank you.
Art. Yeah, this is the analysis that we have done so far, so we're happy to answer any questions or concerns if we can address. Thank you.
George.
Just earlier this year, we passed one of the largest water rate increases in our city's history. If it was the largest or second largest, I don't know, because I haven't been here for 60 years, but it was considerable. And, I voted no on that. I thought it was a little excessive, and I still think so I guess it's in January where the new water rates come into effect? So
yes, correct.
This January, the second year of our water rate will come into effect, another 6%, right? Was that factored in? And see, my problem is we're doing this increase over a 5-year period, okay? 6, well, all right? But we're looking at this on an annual period. There's gonna be years in that 5 years where the water rate is only a nickel. And there's gonna be years when it's a dime, but it won't be 20 cents. There's gonna be years where it fluctuates. And, I don't think the sky is falling that we need to do the full 20 cent increase right now because, as John said, we got time. We raise it half, 10%, or 50%, and then we give it time. See what this new rate is going to affect, and the next year's rate might, it might come in at a nickel. We don't know. It's all speculative. So that's the problem with a body like ours. We're comparing apples and oranges. Our tax increase was over 5 years. Huge tax increase, by the way. Enormous. The PFAS was all factored into that tax increase, by the way, as was told to us 100 times in these sessions. The deal we had with the county and those costs. So it's kind of disingenuous to come to us now and say, oh, we need it for the PFAS, because that was already part of what this dais already passed. So I don't see that as being a legitimate type of thing. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad we have the PFAS. I think we're the first city in Orange County to have active PFAS filtration in our water, so we can drink our water and be safe. But with that being said, I support, I don't think we need to jump and do this huge increase right now. I think we can do half of it, see where we stand. The sky isn't falling. There's no need for, we got to do this now. The city's gonna burn. It's just not the case. In that increase that we did, shame on us if we did such a huge increase and we didn't have an emergency contingency tied into it. Stuff happens, right? Stuff happens. That was not planned for at all in this. Sometimes a pump building burns down. Sometimes a pipe bursts. That wasn't included in our planning. If not, then shame on us. We did this big, huge tax increase and we didn't have any kind of emergency fund to deal with this kind of stuff. You know, the water rates go up 20 cents. Okay, well, that can be caught, you know, I mean, we didn't plan for it. It's part of the general pass-through, but I don't know. I'm more inclined to stick with John's idea. I think it's the best way to do it. If we have to raise it the full amount, then we have to. The water department can't make money. It's supposed to break even. Okay? But I don't like the idea of front-loading the department, which is what we're doing by doing this. We're front-loading it. We don't know what next year is going to bring. Is the water going to be cheaper from Metropolitan Water District? Is it going to be more expensive? We don't know. So I just, you know, we have a 5-year period. We don't need to cram this huge thing all in 1 year, is what I'm saying.
Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry.
next.
Kim.
Go
Yes, yeah.
My colleague just contradicted himself, so I want to ask clarifying questions. Stated that we only can break even, we're not allowed to charge more to make a profit. So how would we set aside money for tax for an emergency if we're not allowed to charge more than what we are paying for water? Not with the taxes, and we'd be charging more for water than we're legally allowed to. That's why I just asked it. Secondly, if we go along with these water experts and apparently finance directors over here, and we only do the 10% increase and then come back later and do more, what is the financial impact to the city if we do it that way?
Sure, glad to answer any questions, and great points, Mr. Bradigan. So in setting up the rates, we do have a contingency reserve included in the calculation, as any water principles that would do with the water utility. So there is emergency and there's reserves level that to respond to emergency situations. However, it's really not the industry's recommendation of utilizing the emergency reserve on scheduled cost increases. And also to respond to council members' questions and comments, we are not front-loading this change. This rate we have been paying since July, yes. So since those agencies passed their budget. So we are upfronting the cost, not upfronting the collection from the revenue customers. And also to answer the question from council member, we are evaluating what the cost impact is going to be, whether to save our customers some money today and have a bigger impact down the road. Would that be feasible, or it's better to prepare and then do our infrastructure updates according to our master plan? So the rate study is not just done by itself in a siloed environment. We have pulled in our water master plan into consideration. We had done our facility condition assessment to make sure that where we stand on those infrastructure, the water lines, the water main, all of that was considered by different engineers, by different consultants, different experts, and then combined together with the financial expertise to put together what is the most cost-effective way of funding those financial needs or the capital needs. So that is the solution that we obtained. And I believe during the study session that when we discussed the 5-year rates, new rate structure, that a couple of scenarios was provided, and there were different funding levels discussed, and that is the most, in our consideration at the time, cost-effective model to have those rates established. And you're right, they are scheduled increases over the 5-year to smooth it out, but again, under the condition that this out of our control component, which is a pass-through piece, it's not something that we wanted to overburden the ratepayers at the time. I hope that answered the questions.
But so not quite. If we go along with Councilmember O'Neill's suggestion of the 10% now and then doing it later, how does that affect our bottom line now? 50%, sorry.
Yeah. So it is the same idea of us not being able to collect that money for 6 months. It's not going to be 1.6 million. It could be 800,000. It could be 750,000. It's a smaller amount that we need to deal with, but again, it's going to put on the burden on our planned capital infrastructure improvements or enhancements or repairs that will in turn cost additional resources, including money and human resources, to respond to emergency situations that we don't want to see. But again, there's no crystal ball if the pipe could last a year, 2 years longer, great. That would save everybody money, but what if not? So that's why we have those studies, we have those assessments, and we have those planned work ahead of time.
So my recommendation also for future years, wherever this come back, that it not be in a consent item, that there be a presentation so it's more clear to the council and to the public why these pass-through charges are coming through. I know that we've had study sessions and this is, just an adjustment, but I think to save a lot of heartburn, that it'd be best that it were an item for consideration with the full report. I want to thank Councilmember Cindy Tran for having done the homework and gone to a meeting and asked those questions ahead of time for that previous pass-through to understand why, because none of us here want to increase taxes or increase the cost of something to our residents. But at the end of the day, that's the cost of water. And if we don't apply that cost to the resident, then that means deferred maintenance or improvements to other things that we have scheduled, which then means when an emergency happens, if something breaks or we have some other disastrous thing like the PFAS that comes out of nowhere, we won't have the money to fix it and we'll be in a bigger financial situation than if we planned accordingly and charge what we were supposed to charge. And so I don't like it, but that's what we need to do. And I think we all need to swallow that pill. And instead of bringing out the boogeyman and scaring our residents or giving them hope into thinking that we may not charge them this and then end up having to charge them that anyway, that we have a more elaborate conversation, have the presentation, and get the full understanding as to why this happens so that we don't come here and have this discussion and then womp womp, they're still going to have to pay, the 20 cents because we just did this for nothing. We gave people hope that maybe we would do 50% now and then something down the road later. But at the end of the day, that has more dire consequences if we don't provide the 20-cent charge now. This takes me back to the item where it was on consent for pavement improvements, where it was just a report and we weren't going to allocate any money towards it. And if I hadn't pulled it and had that discussion and have had the city manager at the time allocate $17.5 million towards that, we would be in the hole hundreds of millions of dollars for not repairing our streets. This is the same sort of philosophy in that we have scheduled maintenance, the money is there for that. If we don't charge the 20 cents, the money we have to do those repairs will have to subsidize the money we're not charging our residents for water that they should be paying for. This is just what's happening now, unfortunately. If there are any programs, like I know we've had discussions, I think it was with electricity and other things about senior programs for discounts, things like that. Can we promote that on our city website to ensure our residents have that? If there's any low-income programs, to make sure we highlight that. Otherwise, I would move the item to approve it as is.
A substitute motion?
I'll
A
second.
motion to approve.
I'll second that
Thank
motion.
Okay, for discussion. So
Yeah.
John?
So I just want to make a few points of why I brought it forward. Number one, I agree with George, Mr. Brightigan, that, the sky isn't falling. Why are we asking the residents to cough up what was in staff report projections and calculations of what future water may cost? It's a very complicated calculation, and I believe we've overcalculated. The water department's not going to fail in 6 months. Do 50% now and give the residents a break. We're able to subsidize economic development. We have Measure O for our public safety. I consider water public safety. I'm second guessing our deal with the water district. We could have used Measure O funds as a public safety to do infrastructure. So I'm just asking that in the future council you consider these things of, we have our TOT tax and things like that and our Measure O money that helps pay for infrastructure. Our water system is a public safety issue, and I believe we can spend money to do that outside of just passing it on to the ratepayer. Let's think outside the box and use some other funds that we're getting to not just subsidize something else, but let's help subsidize the ratepayer on the infrastructure, maybe not the water cost. But like George said, it's not, the sky's not falling. I think you should do 50% now and 50% later, but I don't want to prolong the issue. I appreciate everybody's time on this. There's a substitution, and I'll call it there, and then you guys can talk about it.
The substitute motion and the third motion?
No, I think just the substitute. Your motion, and I seconded your,
That was the set motion.
So any other?
Anybody else? Okay, we'll take action on the substitute motion.
Was the second on the substitute? Was it
Joe,
Dovin?
And that was just to pass the recommend.
as recommended. Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification. We do a roll call vote on this. Councilmember Reidigam?
No.
Councilmember O'Neill?
No.
Councilmember Dovin?
This is for the pass-through approval, right? The substitution, right?
Substitute.
Yes.
Councilmember Klopfenstein?
Yes.
Councilmember Nguyen Peñalosa?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tran?
Yes.
And Mayor Jones?
Yes.
Motion received, 5 yes votes, with Councilmember Breidigam and Councilmember O'Neill voting no. Motion carries.
Thank you for your time on that and the staff too. Appreciate it.
Okay, that now takes us on to public hearings. We do have 2 items listed, starting with item 9.
Item 9 this evening is adoption of the updated Garden Grove military equipment use policy and second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2960 entitled, "An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove adopting an updated Garden Grove Police Department military equipment use policy pursuant to Government Code 7071 and rescinding ordinance numbers 2944 and 2953." And City Attorney Sandoval will provide the report.
Mayor, members of the City Council, you actually approved the first reading of this ordinance at your last meeting. State law does require a public hearing before the actual adoption, and so it's before you for adoption, but before, the recommendation is for the mayor to open the public hearing, take any testimony, close the public hearing, and then go ahead and vote on the adoption of the ordinance. And if you need additional information, I'll be happy to answer.
Right? Anything before we open? Okay. This is a public hearing, so we'll open for any public comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on item 9? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
Colleagues? Call the vote?
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right, item 10.
Item 10 is consideration of a restrictive covenant agreement between the City of Garden Grove and GWGG LLC. And Assistant City Manager Ursula Luna Reynosa is here to introduce the item.
Thank you. Good evening again. The item before you this evening is for your consideration of an agreement that will determine the future of the property located at 12681 Harbor Boulevard and commonly referred to as the Great Wolf Lodge. I'd like to quickly introduce part of the team external to City Hall that assisted staff with drafting the agreement and associated analysis. So Tom Clark with Stradling served as special counsel and drafted the agreement. John Yonai and Rob Hoffman with Tierra West Advisors assisted with the economic analysis and drafting the statutory report required. Chad McWhinney, the owner of the Great Wolf Lodge, is also here. They will all be available at the end of the presentation should you have any questions for any of them directly. With that, I'll kick it over to Deputy Economic Development Director Greg Blodgett to start the presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. Tonight I'd like to go over the background of this particular item. Initially, it was a public-private partnership between McWhinney to build the Great Wolf Lodge back in 2010 under the former redevelopment agency. And McWhinney was successful in developing the 603-room hotel that's built today, including the water park, which you see on the screen, located at 12681 Harbor Boulevard. Since the resort's opening, the resort has been a significant success to the city and has generated over $51 million to date for the city's general fund. And it stands as the top generator of sales tax of all properties within the city and contributes to our city's vitality, economic vitality. But revenues recently have declined since 2019 due to a couple of factors. So we had the lodge opened in 2016, and then by 2019 it had peak revenues for the city. of approximately $7.5 million to the general fund. But since then, a couple things have happened. So we had a market diversion, which the opening of the Manteca Lodge opened up in the Bay Area, which is one of our major markets for the Great Wolf Lodge. It took away some of its business, some of our business. We also had COVID-19, which impacted the resort by closing for 12 months solid with not opening. And then also another 6 months beyond that with limited revenue due to COVID-19 impacts. And then also there's been a change in the brand standards. When our hotel opened, the Great Wolf Lodge has now changed some of its brand standards, updating the standards for newer properties like Manteca, giving that a competitive edge with enhanced attractions and amenities. So now at this point, the developer, McQuinney, is looking to propose a $40 million renovation to the water park to meet the current brand standards, and requested a city's public-private partnership to ensure the feasibility of this project.
Go back one. Back one. Okay, so you covered this with your next slide, please. You give me the wrong. I think you gave me the wrong notes. On this particular slide, wanted to talk about the importance of bundling. Sorry, thank you. So critical to the decision-making process of deciding to invest public dollars to mitigate declining revenues is the likely outcome that if the Great Wolf Lodge, Southern California, is not brought up to brand standards, it will lose the Great Wolf Resort's brand and associated marketing and booking platforms, resulting in an independent, limited-service hotel with a separate water park. The reason why a water park hotel resort is important for the city is that water parks hotels are constructed as their primary amenity, with the defining feature that access to the water park is limited to those staying at the resort. Water park resorts work using the principle of bundling. Bundling is a pricing decision by which a group of products are grouped together. A consumer pays one price for a group of products or services that is lower than the total price of each product or service taken separately or a la carte. This model results in much higher average daily rates, ADRs, and occupancy, effectively increasing revenue and corresponding transient occupancy tax for the city. Our own data supports this conclusion. The Great Wolf Lodge, Southern California, by far outperforms any other hotel in Garden Grove. Preserving the Great Wolf Resort brand and corresponding revenue is in the best interest of the city in order to allow us to maintain as much revenue as we can and continue to provide public services and amenities. And these two charts outline this. These are from an independent source called the Park Database, and the first chart shows the high occupancy that these water parks have. So you're familiar with the Great Wolf Lodge brand. Their information was public until 2012, which this database was able to get that information up until 2012. And then Center Parks, they operate largely in Europe. But you can see that the occupancy is very high and the average daily rate is very high. For comparison, the next chart shows what those average daily rates are compared to much higher full-service resort hotels. And you can see that these properties, the Great Wolf Lodge and the Center Parks with these bundled water parks, they perform similarly to luxury properties. And so our own data, as mentioned, really demonstrates that this is the case here in Garden Grove. And the Great Wolf Lodge Resort does almost, not quite, but almost double that of our next highest performing hotel. Next slide, please. So the proposed $40 million renovation includes adding new food and beverage dining options, enhanced resort pool and entertainment activities, including new dry attractions, updated rooms, and updated common facilities throughout the resort. The proposed agreement outlines key provisions designed to revitalize the property and ensure its continued contribution to Garden Grove's economy. The proposed renovations will align the property with the current Great Wolf Resorts brand standards, including new dining options, new family entertainment, dry attractions, upgraded guest rooms, and improved common areas. This renovation, in addition to some of the other items outlined in the agreement that will be discussed further in this presentation, are meant to mitigate the reasons for the declining revenues, to put this property back on par with the other Great Wolf resorts, providing equal amenities. And then there are some protections that we'll talk about later that will enable this resort to continue to be competitive. And the likely outcome that if we don't do these renovations is that this property will become debranded or deflagged. And the data for a deflagged independent hotel without a water park will have significantly less revenues than we enjoy today, and in what this property can do with this renovation. Next slide, please. So these are some images of some of the brand standards that have been put into place in some of the other properties. This is the vision for the revised renovated lobby. Not only are there some new materials, new pods for the payment and when you come to check in, but there's also a significant investment in this lobby show, which provides an opportunity for guests to stay and come multiple times throughout the day and to gather in this communal space and enjoy an additional amenity. Next slide, please. The food and beverage would be greatly enhanced. There would be a new additional sit-down restaurant that would be added called Fireside. The existing main banquet restaurant would be redone, refreshed. There would be a quick serve food hall added with multiple different food choices, as well as grab and go, which would be a new amenity. And there have been customers expressing an interest in some additional food amenities. And then there would be an enhanced bar off of the lobby, which would allow more interaction with the lobby and another area for adult guests to hang out. Next slide, please. There are a number of new dry attractions. An enhanced arcade is being proposed. The Magic Quest game, which really uses some of the forget the word that the Great Wolf Lodge has their own
Proprietary?
Yes, thank you. They utilize these cartoon characters and these games. They make an interactive experience with the children to interact with. And then there would be a laser, VR laser opportunity. A new huge amenity is a ropes course, and these pictures don't even really do it justice in terms of the size of this ropes course. And it would add a new amenity for a slightly older guest. They're still really looking to cater to a younger audience and kind of up to 12, maybe 14 years old, but it adds some more things for the older children to do with an integrated miniature golf course as part of that down below. Next slide, please. The pool is envisioned to have a massive renovation, and it is constrained with size, but adding some additional cabanas and seating areas, a waiting area for the younger children, and just kind of activating the space and making it a much more pleasant experience. Next slide, please. And then the guest rooms would be refreshed. You can see some of the before or current room images above, and then you can see what the after pictures look like. There'd be new flooring, new paint, new furniture. Next slide, please. And then the salient or most critical components of the agreement. So not only would there be this minimum of a $40 million renovation done to the property, the agreement would also ensure that it operates as a bundled water park, and in particular branded as a Great Wolf Lodge through 2041. That there would be a 200-mile radius restriction, that another Great Wolf Lodge could not be built within 200 miles. This was really important because as we saw, the Manteca property really diverted a lot of market share away from this property. We want to ensure that that doesn't happen, and there have been not even rumors. There were actually, you could go and look at public documents where there were negotiations happening with the city of Bakersfield and Great Wolf Lodge, which is within this 200-mile radius, so that would not be able to be an option. Chula Vista was being discussed, so that's a huge benefit of this agreement. And that restriction would stay through 2041. There's a resident discount that has been offered for residents of Garden Grove, where a minimum of once per year, they would be an ability to receive a 40% discount off of the lowest offered price at that time. And then the sort of covenant consideration, or in order to induce the renovation and these other things to happen, it would be an annual payment equivalent to 40% of the transit occupancy tax for 10 years. And I do want to note that while this payment is for 10 years, the other benefits go through 2041, which is about 15 years. And so after year 10, the city would receive 100% of the TOT generated by this property. Next slide, please. And then this is just a quick chart to really show the difference between the projected generated revenue under the agreement, which is the green bar, versus an independent hotel. These are in millions of dollars, and you can see that total TOT under the agreement is far, a much larger amount than what would be at $125.4 million compared to an independent hotel of $72.4 million. This is over through 2041. And then the net TOT to the city is $94.5 million under the agreement compared to $72.4 million under the independent hotel. I will say that on the agreement too, these revenue projections are very conservative. I think it's highly likely that the property will perform much better than this, but for our analysis, we wanted to be very conservative. Again, if it performs better, we will share more, but we will also get more. And then the consideration payment, it only happens under the agreement for the 10 years, it's $27.7 million, and obviously if it was an independent hotel, it would be $0. But I think this clearly demonstrates that it is in the city's best interest. We are ahead, even though we're having to provide this covenant consideration payment, but it's clearly in the city's best interest financially to do this. Next slide, please. And that really concludes the presentation. As mentioned, we have a team here to answer any questions that you might have in addition to staff. We recommend that you ask us any questions and then open the public hearing, and then save your deliberations until after the public hearing is closed. Thank you.
Colleagues, any questions or clarifications before we open the public hearing?
Yeah, just one quick question on the TOT. So the 40% is based on a set number that we average get TOT, or on the actual TOT paid that year?
On actual TOT.
Okay.
So the property that wouldn't start until the improvements are complete, which is projected to be in the third quarter of 2020. Let me think. They're gonna 2027. So they'll start construction third quarter of 2026. That's what's projected. It's about a year, and we wouldn't start giving the consideration payment until construction's completed. And then at that point, they would do a year. We would pay annual payments. They'd have a year in, and we would see what the actual TOT collected is, and rebate an amount equal to 40% of the TOT.
Okay, that incentivizes them to complete their construction as quickly as possible and not delay. My concern is like another pandemic happened or something crazy, and now we're still locked into this percentage. So it's based on what they actually pay towards us.
Correct, and it's all performance-based in terms of their revenue performance as well.
I just want to make a couple quick comments. So first, I want to say thanks to our staff for working hard on this. As you remember, a couple weeks ago, a couple of the council members went and took a quick trip just to before we make a decision, we want to make sure that we get the information that we need. And at that time, I couldn't talk too much, but the return on investment, right? So we make this decision, what is it that the city will get? And as we already know, Great Grove Lodge is one of the highest tax venue for our city. And beside that, if you pay attention to the presentation, there will be job increase, right, for our city. And also, if you live in Garden Grove City, you're gonna get a special discount, which is we want to make sure that any decision that this council making, we keep the resident in mind. We want to make sure that it come back to the resident. And so I just asked many questions, and even after the yesterday, after the review, the agenda review, the staff came back and asked Cindy, what else that you need? And we, I want to make sure that I feel comfortable about making the decision today, because we don't want that, like Councilmember George mentioned, like, what about a couple more years later, what happened? But the fact that we get the guarantee for the 200-mile guarantee radius, and also, the benefit that we get for the city, and so this gonna become like win-win for us. So just want to say thank you.
Okay, any other comments before we open the public hearing? Okay, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on item 10? Leland.
I'm confused.
Come forward, please.
I don't understand what the city is being asked to do. Are we being asked to loan money to this organization? Or what are we being asked to do as citizens? The other thing too is, when this construction starts, can we have a codicil put in there that the people that are hired to do this construction, the renovation, preference to Garden Grove citizens and preferences to the trades, to the unions? I don't want to see this people brought in from other parts of the state of California. And it says a 200-mile limit. Does that cross the border into Mexico? And how does that affect agreements with the city? So, like I said, I'm a little bit confused. I don't understand what's being asked of the city, other than, are we co-signing or something? I don't know.
Got it. We'll see if we can clarify some of those for you, as noted. Nick?
Nicholas Dibbs is my name. I'm not privy to all the agreements and things that you have looked at and reviewed, so I'm in the dark like Leland is. What is the city being asked to do as far as we're guaranteeing bonds, we're issuing bonds, we're doing loan? What is the city doing? What is the obligation of the city? Whatever that obligation is, I assume it's financial of some sort, and therefore, can I just ask the question? Can we get an answer? What is the city asked to do? What is the financial obligation of the city for this project? Is it a loan? If it's not a loan, is it a bond? If it's not a bond, what is it? Is it I don't know what it is. So I'm in the dark, and so I don't know. Yeah. Whatever the city is being asked to financially commit to, the question is, how long will it take for the city to get the money back? And is the funds, if the city has to outlay money, what is it guaranteed by? Do we get a loan do we get a lien on the hotel until the city's is paid back? Because projections are one thing, but as we know from COVID-19, if some disaster happens, then is the city going to be left holding the bag? These are just some things, because I'm in the dark, I don't know. And I'm admitting I don't know, and since I don't know, there's a whole lot of people probably watching this that don't know either. So, like we've done with the redevelopment agency in the past, what is being done to guarantee these funds so that the city, in if there were to be a problem or disaster or something we can't foresee, that we're not going to be left holding the bag. The other thing is the project labor agreements, or is there something so that the trades laborers can be at a fair labor rate, and that employing people here locally being given first choice? And are you coordinating with any labor unions or not? So those are just some questions. I'm in the dark. Please educate the public and myself. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and then if we can ask Ursula if you could maybe address some of those comments.
Yes. So I think maybe we didn't do the greatest job then of really describing what's happening here. So I'm going to try to just do it in the simplest of terms and
Hey,
start.
Ursula, I think, because you covered all those questions
Yeah.
that they asked, why don't you just explain what TOT is? And I
That's-
think that's all that, because I think that's what the disconnect is.
That's actually right where I was going to start. So transit occupancy tax is one of the city's largest revenue sources. So when people stay at a hotel, they pay a transit occupancy tax, and each city can establish what that is. In Garden Grove, it's 14.5%. So the consumer or the person staying at the hotel pays that rate on top of their room rate. So what's being asked of the city is to, in exchange for the covenants, the $40 million renovation, and in fact, in order to trigger that to happen, the owner has invested a lot of money into the property during COVID, $25 million of its own money. It put a bunch of reserves into the property. And in order for this to be competitive and not to go to an independent hotel, which would generate much less TOT for the city. So if we do nothing, the city's going to lose a lot of revenue. This property generates a significant amount of revenue for the city because of the bundled water park hotel. If we do nothing, it's going to stop being a Great Wolf Lodge, and it's going to become an independent hotel, and it will, again, produce about half the amount of revenue it produces today. So the owner approached the city about a partnership, a public-private partnership, where we would give some rebate, some of the TOT, some of the transit occupancy tax, in order for the developer to be able to borrow against that future revenue stream to raise the $40 million to invest into the property. And so that's really what's being done. So I wouldn't think of it as a loan, but more as an investment. If the city does nothing, we're worse off by sharing a piece of the pie, a piece of the revenue pie. We're still better off than we would be if we did nothing, and it allows the investment to occur and for us to preserve our tax base and for it to grow into the future. So the city, from the last chart in the presentation, I think demonstrates that the best. In terms of the trades and the jobs, this will be a prevailing wage project. So the Department of Industrial Relations, they list what the prevailing wages are. They are comparable to union wages, and it gives all contractors an equal playing field to bid on the project and to be paid these living wages. And there is a local preference as part of the agreements for that. So it's good for providing some local jobs. This project will provide some temporary, jobs during the renovation, and then it's preserving, because this property actually operates about 500 FTEs, or full-time equivalents, is what it takes to operate this water park. If it were to go away to become an independent hotel, we'd lose those jobs. So this is preserving those jobs, plus there will be estimated 20 to 50 additional new jobs on top of that. In terms of the 200-mile radius restriction, it does cross the border into Mexico. So the 200 miles goes all the way. Great Wolf Lodge has agreed that they will not build another one of these properties within that 200 miles until 2041. I think that answered all of the questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Colleagues.
Yeah.
Joe, did you?
Yeah. Yeah, Cindy said we had went over there last month, took a trip. They have these Great Wolf Lodges in I don't know if they're tiers or categories, 1 through 5, and I think we're, what, a 3 here?
Generation. They call it generation. So
Yeah,
it's like-
okay.
yeah.
We're a 2 currently.
2, okay, and I think 5 is the current standard.
4 is the
Four.
high
Okay.
standard, yes.
So we went up there, we toured the latest and greatest, and it was amazing. I mean, they have these magic wands that the kids run around with, and you can open doors and turn on lights throughout the hotel, and it makes all the stuff go. It's kind of cool. The added amenities, that cope course, or I guess the climbing course for the older kids, and miniature golf and all these other things. So it brings it more into an all-inclusive thing. Part of our discussions when we do this, so we're not actually loaning money. Basically, it's TOT, we're forgiveness share type of thing. They're paying, the owner is paying some money. We're paying via the TOT forgiveness, basically 40% that they don't have to pay to the city to go to the new construction and whatnot. So in my opinion, this is a win-win for the city. Part of our things, and the thing I brought up, I wanted to hit, the general public in Garden Grove, going to Great Wolf Lodge is expensive. I mean, $300-400 a night for a room, and and so, keeping that in mind, I go, it's sad when you have such a really cool thing in our city like that, but the residents can't really afford to go. And so part of what was negotiated was if you're a Garden Grove resident, you get 40% discount. So you could take your kids, your grandkids, and have so it's really kind of a cool thing. They've got all this newfangled technology and all the bells and whistles. So anyway, we saw it. The food was outstanding, by the way. We weren't there very long. We didn't get to stay the night there. We were there about, 2 or 3 hours. And so we got to tour the rooms, and we got to eat lunch there, but the food was awesome. I mean, so anyway, I'm in support of this. I think it's a great way. The city doesn't have to put money out of pocket, basically. We get to keep our Great Wolf Lodge, and the community gets a discount when they want to go. So I think that's a win-win-win.
Bill?
Yeah, I think my fellow council members said most of it, but I want to go back a little bit from the history. My wife was on council, and we had a previous mayor who was a mentor to many of us. And we worked hard to invite the developers into our city. So it was a kind of a legacy project back then, and it still is. So we're very invested in the Great Wolf Lodge, and they are invested in our city, so I'd hate to lose them. Just go back to unbundling. I like bundling. I've been there. And I like the development where it's headed. But I also want Great Wolf Lodge to have the flexibility, because it's going to be some build-out time. And you might include other things other than what's presented tonight, maybe more shopping, more merchandising, more outdoor space, any of a number of things. And if we're going to a generation 3 or 4 or better, I want to be competitive, not just the Great Wolf Lodge competing with itself to become the greatest Wolf Lodge in Garden Grove, but you're going to have to compete with a lot of different tourist attractions, and we need that. We didn't have any before the Great Wolf Lodge came along, so it was it put us on a map in some ways, and I want to stay on the map. So I really encourage Great Wolf Lodge to stay in Garden Grove, and if anything we can do to partner, basically we're deferring some of the TOT and reinvesting so that we can collect more over the long term. So if anything, I'd like to go to 2045 if we can. That's my only suggestion, instead of 2041, because we have that 10-year, which I don't know if I'm rightly characterizing as a deferment. So instead of collecting 100% up front, we defer some of it, and we're going to collect more down the road to the benefit of the immediate residents of Garden Grove. So if they stay here, they keep developing, we're going to get more revenue from at least 200 mile radius, which is a big deal. That's a huge area to cover, and we're not going to compete against ourselves. And Garden Grove is going to be a hot spot. And lastly, I want this to be an example of Garden Grove committed to developers who come in and bring that TOT, bring that tourist attraction, bring that tourist dollars to us. We really need it for the employment, for the trades, for all the reasons that's been mentioned here. And we want the developers and businesses like the Great Wolf Lodge to say that we're here, we're committed, and you're gonna meet some hard times, but we'll partner with you, we'll get through it together, and we'll come out a lot stronger, a lot better. So I'm all for it. Thank you.
Stephanie.
I just have a quick comment. I agree with my council colleague that Great Wolf Lodge definitely was something that put Garden Grove on the map. I think it gives us an edge into this competitive tourism market. And with these improvements moving forward, I think it gives us a further seat at the table when we look around this tourism region, and we have a lot of projects at play, not just in Anaheim with Disney Forward, but OC Vibe over by the Honda Center. And Garden Grove now has something to capture a little bit of that extra tourism dollar moving forward. I think it's important. And we look at job growth and retention. We'll only be able to add more jobs into the future. And with this construction, again, more job creation right here in Garden Grove. That's a very good thing. And I'm sure staff, thank you for your diligent efforts and hard work. I know there's so much behind the scenes that takes place to get to this point for us to vote on something like this. And I'm sure moving forward we'll have updates just so that we can sort of see the data and touch and feel this as we get closer in March to the completion of this. But I couldn't support it more. Thank you.
Anybody else, or John?
Quick comment. I just want to thank Walt Disney. No, we are blessed as a city to live in the proximity of the resort area here in Anaheim. And I want to thank the McWhinney family and what you guys have been the best partner in Garden Grove. And we need to take care of those partners, because we wouldn't be able to pay for our water, we wouldn't be able to pay for our trash and do a lot of things, road repair, without the TOT tax, transient occupancy tax. So when you rent a room, you're paying a tax. We share that, and that's how it works in this whole region. It's very competitive in the hotel business here around Disneyland, and if you're not a good partner with your municipality of a hotel that you're running, it's going to be very difficult to continue. So to share a little bit of the tax revenue for someone to make a $40 million investment is huge. And with Disney Forward, you guys are all blessed. I'll be long gone and dead. But Disney has committed $40 billion over 40 years to invest most of their capital improvement here in Anaheim. OC Vibe's going to put $6 billion in within the next, by 2032. It's a great time to be in this area, and I believe our TOT here locally, could double in the next 20 years by partnering with folks. Now, I would like other developers and people that we partner with to use McWhinney's as an example. When you make a deal and you decide to do something, let's build it. I don't want to be looking at dirt and renewing development agreements. So let's build it and get it done. You've got the Olympics coming up in 2028. Now's the time to start pulling permits, drawing plans, and building things. So thank you very much for what you do every day. I know what you do every day of the week.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion. Public hearing's closed. Sorry. We have a motion and a second. I'll call the vote.
Sorry, who did the motion and the second?
I did.
Cindy was the second. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you for the clarification. Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Righty. Thank you. Should we take a quick break? Okay, let's take a quick 3 or 5 minute break. items listed, so we'll start with item 11 and crank through these.
Item 11 is approval of a citywide engineering and traffic survey 2024 and introduction and first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 36 of Title 10 of the Municipal Code entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove amending Chapter 36 of Title 10 of the Garden Grove Municipal Code, establishing speed limits for certain designated city streets based upon an updated traffic and engineering speed survey. And City Traffic Engineer Daivu is here to provide that report.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. The purpose of this item is to approve an update to the citywide engineering and traffic survey. On January 1st, 2022, the passage of Assembly Bill 43 made a number of modifications to the California Vehicle Code that authorizes local jurisdictions to set safer speed limits on certain streets. Previously, speed limits were primarily established based on the 85th percentile speed, rounded to the nearest 5 mile per hour increment. Beginning June 30th, 2024, AB 43 changed the California Vehicle Code to authorize local authorities to further reduce the speed limit an additional 5 miles per hour based on certain conditions. Staff reviewed the engineering and traffic survey approved by City Council on December 14th, 2021, and identified 13 street segments that were appropriate candidates to be reevaluated. These street segments were either segments that changed speed limits or have had a vehicle lane reduction. The selected segments were analyzed individually using speed surveys, traffic volumes, accident data, posted speed limits, and roadway conditions. A summary of the survey results are shown in the staff report. The study resulted in 12 segments with a speed limit reduction from 40 miles per hour to 35 miles per hour. And one segment on Gilbert between Chapman and Orangewood remained at 35 miles per hour. It is recommended that the City Council approve the 2024 engineering and traffic survey updates and introduce and conduct the first reading of the ordinance adjusting speed limits on 12 roadway segments. This concludes staff's presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Daivu. Joe.
Just a quick question. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Vu. Some of these changes will require some different postings of the speed limit, right? So we'll change out some signs. And what are the distances between the postings normally? Because it can be a little confusing when I'm driving and then I catch a 40 here, 35 there.
Yeah, we typically have them about 500 feet apart.
Oh, okay. So that's the standard, just 500 feet apart, and there'll be some new posting of new speed limits.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to thank our traffic engineers. You guys went above and beyond on this, and I know you put a lot of work re-coordinating it. We had some community complaints about some of these streets, and under the old state guidelines, there wasn't much we could do. And I know Joe came forward and tried to work with, I don't know who brought Anaheim up. I think it might have been Leland that told us about that new law and everything. But it caused a lot of work for you guys. So thank you for all the efforts that your team has done down there. And I'm really happy we were able to do this, especially in those modified streets where, it's just not safe and people are trying to get out and, their driveways and whatnot. So. Anyway, thank you for all your effort on this.
Just a quick note, just want to say thanks. When I was walking around the neighbor, and many of the residents gave me the input of the on Gilbert near the Garden Grove area, and also the Trask and Magnolia, that area, that where I think you have the report in here that there's a lot more accident in that area. And so I just want to say thank you for the detailed report. When I read, I was able to see, the analysis with the street, the accident and the percentage, so etc. So thank you for that detail, and for the resident out there that when I met you, you mentioned about you want to have a better control of the speed. So this is it. So thank you for doing that detailed work.
With that, I'll move it.
Mayor, need to read into the record the revised ordinance title. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove amending Section 10.36.030 of Chapter 10.36 of Title 10 of the Garden Grove Municipal Code establishing speed limits for certain designated city streets based upon an updated traffic and engineering speed survey. Thank you.
And with that, I'll move it.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Call the vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Item 12.
How long will it take for those signs to get changed out?
The speed limits take effect 30 days.
Okay.
I believe after the second reading, is that correct, Omar?
Yeah, so we
Uh,
need to have a second reading at our next meeting and then 30 days after that.
Okay.
Sorry, I have a follow-up too. Generally, how are these reviews triggered, these updates, and how long do you think the next one will happen?
Typically, the surveys are done 7 or 10 years, depending
okay.
on changes to the street system.
Okay.
The last one was a citywide one that was approved in 2021.
Mhm.
So we're anticipating 2028 to be the next citywide survey.
Okay, that's good. I won't be here, but it'd be interesting anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 12.
Item 12 is the award of contract to Iteris, Inc. for the installation and integration of equipment for the Bolsa Chica Street, Valley View Street Traffic Signal Synchronization Project. And Associate Engineer Juan Navarro is here to provide that report.
Good evening, Mayor Jones and members of the City Council. The objective of this item is to request City Council authorization to award a contract to Iteris, Inc. to install and integrate equipment for the Bolsa Chica Street, Valley View Street Traffic Signal Synchronization Project. On August 9th, 2022, the City Council approved a cooperative agreement with the cities of Huntington Beach and Westminster to conduct a traffic signal synchronization program on Valley View Street, Bolsa Chica Street corridor. The project will include timing, implementation, and infrastructure improvements at 22 traffic signals along the corridor from Chapman Avenue to Warner Avenue, which is approximately a 5-mile stretch. The proposed agreement with Iteris will include the installation and integration of various field elements, which includes traffic signal cabinets, controllers, video, vehicle detection systems, communication devices, and pedestrian upgrades. Staff released requests for proposals to 4 qualified transportation engineering firms and received 1 formal proposal from Iteris, Inc. After careful review and rating of the proposal, it was concluded that Iteris was well qualified to perform the work included in the agreement. The total proposed not to exceed amount for the work is $545,121. This was 0.9% under the engineer's estimate. The project will be funded through an OCTA CTFP grant with a 20% local match. The local match will be paid through a combination of in-kind contribution as well as traffic mitigation fees. It is recommended that the City Council award a contract to Iteris, Inc. in the amount of $545,121 for the system construction of Bolsa Chica Street, Valley View Street Traffic Signal Synchronization Project, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement and make minor modifications as appropriate on behalf of the city. This concludes staff's presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Thanks, Juan. George.
Yeah, is this the, I'm hopeful the answer is yeah. This is the last north-south thoroughfare in the city to do this, right? This is the last one, because I know we started it like on Harbor, and then they went to Euclid and did it, and then they went to, was it Brookhurst or?
Yeah, we've done
They worked their
Brookhurst.
way west, basically, so I'm guessing this is probably the last synchronization project, north-south anyway. I don't know about the other direction, but.
There's still a few north-south corridors that haven't been touched. The way that we select which corridors are going to be touched, we coordinate with other agencies. This corridor here, it just happened to be up next where we got support from other agencies. Currently, we're also working on the Euclid Street corridor, so that's ongoing right now.
I really love this sync idea because it encourages people to drive the speed limit, right? So if you're driving and you hit a red light and the light turns green, if you stay at the speed limit, you're theoretically going to hit green lights the whole way, right? So it saves gas, smog, time, you know, so it's really a nice incentive because it incentivizes you to drive the speed limit, basically. So anyway, I'm really in support of this. I'm glad Valley View is getting it because it's getting really bad, especially the rush hours. You know, you can get backed up. It could take you 20 minutes to get to the freeway from Lamson during rush hour. So I'm glad this is going through. And with that, I'll motion.
Nope.
I have a couple questions and comment or two, just quickly. So I want to clarify, this is running east-west, or are we running north-south on both the Valley View and both the Chica corridor?
So it's going to be north-south, but at the same time, we're also going to be doing cross-coordination. Like for example, Chapman Avenue, we're going to make sure that we also do cross-coordination there.
Okay. Second question, have we contracted with Alturas before, and they're the most reasonable, practical bid? Have we contracted with Alturas before?
Yes, that is correct. So the last project that that the city worked on was the Brooker Street corridor. I think it was like 2019, they're recognized in the industry. They also had 4 or 5 references on their proposal. I reached out to a neighboring agency, the City of Orange. I reached out to their engineer. I had a list of questions that I asked the engineer just to make sure that Iteris was going to be able to handle this project, and I received nothing but positive feedback from them.
Excellent. And so the numbers will be coming from them or from our department, providing for them to make the adjustments to time the traffic? Is it their own research, their own?
So they're engineers. They've already collected traffic counts throughout the city with the counts. Then they use those counts and the geometry of the intersections to enter this data into a software called Synchro. Synchro, then they, for all 20 intersections throughout the corridor, then they optimize the entire corridor. They try to massage it so that you get this like diamond band across the corridor, so that as Councilman Brightingham mentioned, you start off at one end, and if you're traveling the speed limit, as you're traveling the speed limit, you should get green light after green light.
So it will help relieve traffic. And for this contractor, we're awarding them, they're providing all the numbers and all the research for it too, right?
That is correct, and we're also reviewing everything that they're submitting.
Now, I'm trying to locate, especially on Valley View, are we going all the way past Strawberry Zest?
Yeah, it's to the freeway, right, or passing to Westminster.
We're going to be going through the city of Westminster and ending at Warner Avenue in the city of Huntington Beach. So it's going to be a total of 22 traffic signals, starting at Chapman, past the freeway.
Can we slow them down 5 seconds when they're going through the Strawberry Zest? Or at least put up a sign, Strawberry Zest coming up. Throw that in if you can.
Cindy.
I have a quick question for you. So we kind of mentioned earlier that broadcast that street we already went through the study and did all that. But every day we always see traffic at that corner. And I got the note from the resident, from the teacher, from the parent relate to that broadcast and Garden Grove area. So my question to you that was there any help? I'm guessing the answer is yes, that the light turn, so that way people will go to that with that speed. But I don't see, is there anything else that we could do for that corner?
So in reference to Brooker Street, we did coordinate that corridor back in like 2019. We're actually currently working with OCTA on a county-wide synchronization project, and the Brookers corridor is going to be retimed again here soon.
Okay, because that almost happen every day, and it's like long line waiting. So,
what direction are you traveling? I could take a look at this.
So if you go from
maybe
north
take
to
it
south.
offline because it's not part of this item.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Forget, but do we have a motion and a second?
I'll move it.
Second.
Call the vote.
Motion receives 7 yes votes.
Item 13.
Item 13 is the authorization of the issuance of a purchase order to Innovative Playgrounds Company, Inc. for the new playground equipment for Jardín de los Niños and Hastur Basin Park. And Deputy Director Janet Pelayo is here to provide the report.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Staff would like to request City Council authorization to purchase playground equipment from Innovative Playground Company Incorporated through the Sourcewell Competitive Bid Program, contract number 010521-BUR. In May of 2023, City Council approved a grant agreement with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, hereinafter referred to as HUD, to receive a $1 million grant from the Community Funding Grant Program that would be utilized for park improvements at 3 city parks. These park improvements are part of the 5-year capital improvement plan and priorities outlined in the 15-year Parks and Facilities Master Plan. The 3 city parks include Jardín de los Niños, Hastur Basin Park, and West Haven Park. For both Jardín de los Niños and Hastur Basin Parks, improvements include the replacement of the playground equipment and playground surface. The HUD funding will be used for installation, concrete, additional construction materials, and playground surface for the parks. The playground equipment will be purchased with citywide park fees. Sourcewell solicits, evaluates, and awards contracts to companies through a competitive bid process. As a member of Sourcewell, the city is able to utilize Sourcewell bid awards for equipment purchases. Staff recommends to purchase this playground equipment through this competitive bid program for Innovative Playground Company Incorporated. Experience has shown that the city's buying power is enhanced through joining with other public agencies to purchase this type of equipment. The cost of the purchase of playground unit at Jardín de los Niños Park and Hastur Basin Park for Jardín de los Niños is $131,283, and also for Hastur Basin Park, $131,023, respectively, for a total amount of $262,307. That will be funded through the citywide park fee fund within the current budget. There is no financial impact to the city's general fund. It is recommended that the City Council authorize the Finance Director to issue a purchase order to Innovative Playground Company Incorporated in the amount of $262,307 for the purchase of new playground equipment at both Jardín de los Niños Park and Hastur Basin Park. That concludes my staff report, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Janet. Kim?
I want to make the motion for this item, but I also just want to make sure that I extend again my many thanks to Congressman Lou Correa, who helped draw down these funds for these parks. And it was like his last act of service for representing Garden Grove for over 20 years. And when he asked, what I wanted, I said I needed stuff for my parks. So I'm very grateful for his efforts and his last act of kindness for the city of Garden Grove. This is something I'll remember him always for. It was his little last stamp in his little corner of Garden Grove. And with that, I'd like to make the motion.
I'll second. It's wonderful to see East Garden Grove parks getting some love. These parks are so important to our community in East Garden Grove, where we have some denser areas, and these parks provide really a backyard for a lot of children and families. So this is a great item, and I'm happy to make that second.
Call.
Oh. Well, since my colleague spoke to it, I want to also thank Congress member Lou Correa for bringing us the funds, and I want to call out to the next, or whoever's representing Garden Grove, to please also do the same, so we can draw down the funds for other parks in this area, and whoever it is ends up representing Garden Grove. And thank you for advocating for that. We definitely need it, and we gotta need more. So if it's not Congress member Lou Correa, maybe someone else, but we're gonna be knocking on their doors too. Thank you.
Okay, call to vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Item 14.
Item 14 is the authorization of an issuance of a purchase order to Romtech Inc. for the design and supply of new restroom structures for Hastur Basin Park and West Haven Park. And Deputy Director Janet Pelayo will also provide that report.
Good evening again. Staff would like to request City Council authorization to purchase the design and supply of new restroom structures from Romtech Incorporated through the Sourcewell Competitive Bid Program, contract number 081721-RMT. As previously explained, in May of 2023, the City Council approved a grant agreement with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, hereinafter I'll refer to them as HUD, to receive $1 million grant from the Community Funding Grant Program that would be utilized for park improvements at 3 city parks. These park improvements are part of that 5-year capital project improvement plan that we have and priorities outlined in our 15-year Parks and Facilities Master Plan. For both Hastur Basin and West Haven Parks, improvements included the replacement of the current restroom structures. The HUD funding will be used for the installation of concrete and additional construction materials to complete these 2 projects. The restroom structures will be purchased with citywide park fees. The cost for the design and supply for both restroom structures at Hastur Basin Park and West Haven Park are a total of $353,724. The amount will be funded by the citywide park fee fund within the current budget. There is no impact to the general fund. It is recommended that the City Council authorize the Finance Director to issue a purchase order to Romtech Incorporated in the amount of $353,724 to purchase the design and supply for new restroom structures at both Hastur Basin Park and West Haven Park. This concludes my staff report, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Janet, any questions, comments?
I do have a question real quick, and this is awesome that they're doing this, but, you know, we've all had problems in our parks with the bathrooms being vandalized and destroyed, and then, you know, the city's forced to close them down for months because they gotta, you know, fix them, and I've heard back and forth, they were exploring a electronic locking system on the doors, so, you know, the staff could lock them from, let's say, City Hall or Public Works Building instead of having to send somebody to each park to lock each door, and there was some other things being discussed, but I never heard any final outcome on that. You know, we're putting all this money in, new construction, new beautiful restroom. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's just a matter of time before it's gonna get vandalized if we don't take those precautions on the doors and locking them and unlocking them at appropriate times. Cause, you know, the problem is if we don't, then they get vandalized and the community doesn't have them to use, right? And, so I don't know, if we're doing this now, we should do it right and make sure that we're exploring all the options and implementing what we can. All it takes is one worker being sick that day, and now, you know, the doors don't get locked, and, you know, I think now's the time. We should focus on that. Is that being looked at right now as part of this?
Yes, we are. We are already in discussions for Hastur Basin Park with OC Parks, looking at the possibility of partnering with them and launching a security program. And so we are looking at that as maybe being a pilot program, more of having boots on the grounds due to a lot of the vandalism that's been occurring at these city parks. It's beyond just regular park hours. It's also during, you know, nighttime hours. And so we're looking at that possible partnership and bringing that to City Council at a future, maybe in the next couple of months, meeting to bring that proposal forward and see if we can go forward with that partnership there, and then also doing something similar to our other city parks, key parks that we currently have issues with vandalism and that we have to constantly close down city parks. So staff is definitely looking at that. As far as the other pilot program that you mentioned with the lock system, we did launch that pilot program at Chapman Sports Park. Unfortunately, they figured out how to mess with the equipment and unlock and keep the doors unlocked. And so it didn't really go too far in terms of being a success and trying to implement at other city parks. So we're looking at other avenues and talking to other cities to see what they're doing and how they're remedying some of these issues.
I just hate to put all this money into it and you know, a month later we get the text, oh yeah, it got vandalized, we have to close it, and you know.
Right.
So.
A completion date of both parks, do we have an estimated? I was trying to look for it, I didn't.
Right, we don't have that here listed. Right now, I'm coming forward with the purchase now, as it takes 4 to 5 months for the manufacturing of these products.
Yeah.
And so in that time frame, I'm working with our architect that had came to a previous council meeting with presentations of the designs to finalize the construction documents, which we are hoping to have sometime by February of next year ready. And then we'll have enough time to bid out and bring on a contractor on board when all of this equipment will be ready to be installed.
Got it.
Yeah, so sometime maybe spring, late spring of next year is when we'll be in construction.
Thank you.
Mhm.
A comment, and I'd like to make the motion as well. For future, I know when I traveled up north, I want to say it was the city of Capitola, but I could be mistaken. I'll confirm it for you later. They had restrooms that like self-lock on a timer, and if you're not done, it opens and people can see. And they also have self-cleaners, so as soon as you're done and you leave, they shut and they clean on their own. So that may be something, I'm assuming it's going to be very costly, but it might be something we want to look at, what other cities are doing, not just around us, but further out, as innovative ways to look at our restrooms. I know that's been an ongoing problem for a really long time. I know I brought a complaint forward many, many years ago when students were out playing in their soccer leagues and the bathrooms were locked and they had nowhere to go, and we had to figure out a way to open them temporarily. So it's an ongoing issue, but I think if we look at to see what other cities are doing and implementing, we might get some really good results.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, just, sorry.
A motion and a second. Cindy, last one.
Yeah, just a quick note. So the same with Get and Go Park. I know that I met with staff many times, and you guys showed me many pictures about what happened there. One thing that I know we talked about, I think last time, relate to the camera, and so I didn't get a chance to read the whole report. But do we have camera here?
At this location, we don't have cameras being installed yet. However, we are looking at incorporating that after, since that is a separate project that's not funded by this grant.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was something that we thought that it would help. Having the camera there will prevent them somewhat. So.
Yes, we did go back after we did our previous presentation with all the other park project improvements. We did worked with the architect to install cameras at Woodbury Park project, so that one is going to bid out soon, and it will have a security camera system incorporated. For these, because they're federally funded, we are doing them as separate pieces, and so we're going to do a security component after.
That's
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Call to vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Okay, ordinances presented for a second reading and adoption. Item number 15.
Item 15 is the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2961, entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove, amending provisions of Chapter 11.32 of Title 11 of the Garden Grove Municipal Code pertaining to the removal and replacement of city trees.
This is a second hearing of this ordinance, and last meeting I was joking about Councilmember Brigham giving the staff report, but he jumped in and he did it. So if you want another staff report, I'm sure he's willing to give it.
We'll waive the staff report.
Thanks. George, you'd like to make the motion?
I will make the motion.
Well, second.
Okay. Call the vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
Okay, we have no matters listed. We'll go around the horn, starting with George.
Yeah, I'm just, give me a second here.
I'll go real quick
Go ahead.
while he's looking. So I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you get to spend time with
Yeah.
your loved ones this Thanksgiving time. That's it for me.
Yeah, same thing. Thanksgiving, 2 days, everybody enjoy. I hope everybody gets to feast with their loved ones and have a good time. Don't talk about religion or politics. Just eat and have fun and spread the love. A couple things coming up. December 7th, Winter in the Grove here at, right here by the clock tower. Yeah, the Village Green. So there will be, this year, Garden Grove Kiwanis is going to be doing a toy drive on that day. And they'll also be there the day before at the car show. So if you're at the Garden Grove Car Show, or if you go to Winter in the Grove, and you want to bring a wrapped toy, or, unopened, I should say, that would be awesome. All those toys are gonna go to the local Garden Grove, kids. And so I urge everyone, if you're gonna come and enjoy the festivities of Winter Grove, everyone should go. That place is awesome. They got sledding for the kids. They got concessions. They've got food. Santa Claus is there. Santa, yeah. And so they've got all kinds of vendor booths, and I mean, really it's one of the best events in the city. So I urge everyone to show up and have fun. That'll be December 7th. On December 13th, over on my district, Jingle Jam will be going on with the Tackneys. They it's a much smaller event than Winter in the Grove, but they do it over there at Eastgate Park, and same thing. They have vendors and Santa, and I think they bring the showmobile out there and have the local high school students do some shows and whatnot. So anyway, some family-friendly free events. So feel free to come, and please bring a unopened toy for the Kiwanis, either at the car show on Friday night or at the Winter in the Grove.
MPT.
Yes, sir. Couple items. So over the weekend, I attend the Thanksgiving food drive for OC Food Bank, and there was a lot of people there. So I think during Thanksgiving we always think about giving food to help the less fortunate, and so I also attend the one from Stanton, that the food drive. I talked to the CEO of the Friends of Family, and I was told that they do that every month, and so he said that he have 4 tons of food that give away, but not sure where to give. I said, oh, we could bring that to Garden Grove City. So that is something that I will pass information back to our staff and see if there's anything that maybe we could do the food distribute in Garden Grove Park or something. Because he said they have a lot of food, but just not enough people to help with distributing them. And then the second item is there were several residents reaching out to me about helping with the Brokers business building that got burned out a couple weeks ago. My heart go out to the business owner in that area, because they are in my district. But also I pass information to our staff, and our staff will take further action from there. So if anyone is interested to help out, please reach out to our staff. I think a couple weeks ago I mentioned about maybe the 3 council member Kim and Stephanie and I were gonna do a business seminar to reach out to the business in Garden Grove. But actually our staff have done so many events and provide so many support to our businesses. So today I just want to bring up one that we're gonna have a small business intelligence webinar on December 10 from 10 to 11:30. So for that one, you don't have to go anywhere. You could just down from your home. And we're probably gonna go to on a couple of TV channels to let people know more about it. Besides that, we also have the micro big, like 50,000 loan and etc. There's so many different programs that our city provides to businesses. We just have to ask the right person. So hopefully we're gonna bring more of that to our residents soon. And then last but not least, I am going to visit the firefighter department. I'm gonna bring some homemade turkey and green bean casserole tomorrow. So if any council member here would like to tag along with me, please let me know. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
First, I'd like to wish my wife a happy birthday. It's the last week of November is her Dina Nguyen's birthday, and the first week of November is my daughter, Camille Athena's birthday. So we celebrate all month long. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday because we don't have to do anything, just eat, have fun. So wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I want to reiterate the Winter in the Grove. It's also our Christmas tree lighting event, right? And again, I've been there continuously ever since Dina was on council. It's my favorite event in the city, so I look forward to seeing everybody out there. We we all push that button together, and the Christmas tree comes lighted, and not just Santa Claus, but Mrs. Claus will be riding on a fire truck. It was very exciting to see that. So I hope everyone comes out as a family and enjoy the holidays. On a more serious note, I want to let our residents know that we as council member and mayor receive messages any time of the day when things happen, that the fire chief or the police chief let us know, and our city manager passed along the information. We've had a couple of tragic incidences, one involving traffic. So I'm very happy that we have these upgrades and updates on the traffic lighting and the speed limit being posted. Please be aware of those changes and slow down, because these fatalities can be avoided if you're not distracted. So it's not just driving while under the influence, but don't drive distracted, whether you're sleepy or texting. That can cause very serious incidents, and it keeps me up when I see those texts. I don't like to share bad news, but it does happen. And Hastur Basin Park, we had a tragic incident there too, and we all got those messages. It's very unfortunate, but I do appreciate the budgeting that our Congressman Luke Ria has so generously helped us, and with the advocacy of our council member who's leaving. Thank you for bringing the baby, and your husband spoke very well tonight, and I wish I was so brave as he was, and I wish I had a little baby too, but I don't. So there's no way you can outdo that. Happy holidays, everybody.
Stephanie.
I just want to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Our annual holiday drive is going on now through December 12th to benefit our Buena Clinton Family Resource Center, Magnolia Park Family Resource Center, and the H. Lewis Lake Senior Center. The Garden Grove Holiday Drive is a citywide effort to bring holiday cheer to disadvantaged youth and seniors in our community. You can donate new unwrapped toys, board games, sports equipment, gift cards, and other holiday gifts. Gifts can also be purchased through our Amazon holiday registry. Don't forget to purchase tickets for the holiday drive to win a raffle to win a $200 Amazon gift card. For more details, visit our website at ggcity.org. I also want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I'm excited for my very last winter in the Grove. I unfortunately won't be able to challenge Councilmember Bradingham down the sled this year, given my current condition, but
You always win, eh?
I probably still win now too. But I'm excited to bring Penny and have her see Santa and Mrs. Claus. Also, a reminder to my colleagues that the League will be having its holiday event, so please reach out to Pam to ask for those details and attend. I also want to communicate with staff. I know some of you spoke to some residents that came earlier today to express their concerns over eviction notices, and I know that they've spoken to Councilmember Cindy Tran as well. Hopefully you can loop in Councilmember Joe Dovin, as I believe that the property is in his district. But if we could receive some updates whenever you're able to communicate with them. This is very concerning given that it's about to be Thanksgiving and Christmas, and they have until December, and some of them have January to move out, and we obviously want to do everything we can do to help ensure that they're rehoused. And lastly, I'd like to thank Jack Skellington, aka my husband, and little Penny for coming tonight for their kind words. It was a beautiful moment, and hopefully I can reach out to GGTV and maybe get that clip. Thank you all.
Happy birthday, Dina Wynn. Also, happy birthday to our own Janet Palayo. Wherever she went, yeah. City Manager Lisa Kim.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Not only happy Thanksgiving to all of you and our community, I also want to highlight that Garden Grove also celebrates Black Friday, and we go big. And so I just wanted to remind the community about the importance of supporting our local business community through the city's End of the Year Buy in Garden Grove campaign, which is Black Friday Goes Big. For every $50 spent in Garden Grove from Black Friday through November 29th through Thursday, December 19th, shoppers will have an opportunity to win a $500, $250, or a one-night stay at the Great Wolf Lodge or a Sabroso gift card. So just save your receipts and bring them to the Garden Grove Chamber of Commerce by December 19th before 1 p.m. and more details on our website. So thank you.
Thank you. General Counsel, anything to report out or any need for closed sessions?
Nothing for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we will stand adjourned. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your evenings, everyone.